welcome everyone to another Indie Dev Showcase video here on the channel. Every Wednesday night we play nothing but indie games, and then I take that footage and turn into these videos here. These are games that are usually submitted by developers, and if you let me take a look at your game in the future, please don't hesitate to get in touch. We are still continuing with the games from the Steam Spring Festival, and we are beginning with an interesting one. This is Haven, which is developed by the game makers whose previous game was the high-octane action title Fury. Now, we turn to a rom-com RPG, and I am not kidding with that one. Our story finds our two heroes here stranded on a floating island in a sea of basically broken up pieces of land. And they have to survive while working together, and of course working out any kind of relationship issues along the way, while drifting, gathering resources, and synchronized combat as well. And if there was ever a complete 180 from a previous game by a studio, I think Haven may certainly be it. Now, the demo that we played kept two kind of these starting islands. We do this kind of drifting to gather energy, and then that energy, I believe, was used in order to power up specific points, and you're able to switch between the two characters at will. But you can also play the game co-op, and as the story page says, you could play with your own partner as well. And the developers are definitely going for a lot of different systems with Haven. You go out to scavenge for food, you bring it back and you cook it, and I'm not quite sure at the moment how all this is going to interact with each other. Again, with the demo itself, we really didn't get a chance to get too far into things in terms of, does the food impact how you fight or explore? Is there an actual kind of progression loop to the game, or are we following a set story? And like I said, this is definitely an interesting turn for the studio in terms of these kinds of designs. If you're hoping for, the very highly reactive and challenging combat of Fury, that does not seem to be their focus here with Haven. As you explore, you'll run into enemy encounters on the map, so there are no random fights in this game. And when you actually do get into combat, this is when it turns into almost like synchronized dance attacks, which is definitely not something I was expecting out of an RPG. The idea is that you want both characters to do the same actions in order to power them up, and you're going to have to figure out what to use when. So right now what you're seeing is I should be using the shield action when the enemy's about to attack, but I also have to properly time when to release the analog sticks in order to make use of specific attacks. As you can see, hopefully if I can get this dual blast to work right here. There we go. And yeah, this was played single player, but again, you are able to play this with a friend. I don't know at the moment if there will be online play, but it will be local for sure. And with something like Haven, I am just, again, this is one of those titles, I am not sure where they're actually going with it or not. And this is one that I'm curious to see what people think who have had a chance to play the demo. But other than that, there really isn't a lot to discuss with Haven at this moment. Again, with this being a demo, we didn't really get the full sense of how all these systems are going to work together. But if the developers can stick the landing, then there is definitely something here for single or couples looking for a different take on RPG and maybe even just some slight open world design in the future. But with that, let's move on to something entirely different. This is Coffee Talk. I guess this is more of a visual novel style game. The hook is that we run a coffee shop in a world that is essentially fantasy and our world combined. So it's kind of like that movie, what was it, the one that Pixar just did, but we're in San Francisco, where you're as common to run into somebody trying to find work as you would a demon, a succubus, an orc, and things like that. And if you're hoping for a lot of action in this one, you're not going to find it. The basic gameplay is that these various characters come into our shop and they'll be asking for various drinks. We serve it to them and we listen to their stories. And yes, if you're looking for a lot of drama and things like that, Coffee Talk will have it in spades. Now, as with games of this kind, there really isn't a lot here we can discuss from a mechanical point of view. The only real gameplay interaction that you have is deciding what drinks to serve people. And I'm sure in the full game that there will be more ingredients and things along those, more ingredients and drinks that you can make use of. My one concern is that I don't know if any of that actually matters in Coffee Talk, because people are going to be spilling their secrets regardless or not of you making a really great cup of joe. And I was kind of hoping for more of that kind of gameplay interaction. Now, maybe that's in the full version, I don't know. But I will say I do like this kind of slice of life, low stakes story that Coffee Talk is trying to have. And while this game is probably not going to be for everyone, if you're looking for, again, a very relaxing kind of visual novel style game, then definitely keep an eye out for it. As we move on, we turn to a classical point-and-click adventure game. And this is the prologue, essentially, to When the Past Was Around. A kind of emotionally driven game, as you play a girl searching for her memories and a missing loved one in them. The style is shown entirely hand-drawn, and the puzzles are basically revolving around these different rooms, each with memories and miniature puzzles in them. Complete all the puzzles in the room, you move on to the next. So there is no real carryover, at least from this version, from one room to the next one. And from what I played of this one, it definitely has charm to spare. There's a lovely violin music in the background that you can't hear over my voice. And the game revolves around all on internal puzzle design. So you'll have to figure out how to make use of the various items and gadgets in the room in order to find the various keys that you need. Other than that, there really isn't a lot for me to say in this prologue. I think I spent about 30 to 50 minutes on it, solved the puzzles, and then moved on. And obviously, anything that I show you is a spoiler for these puzzles. But definitely hints at a very charming game when the finished version comes out later this year. But again, with it being a point-and-click adventure game, we can't exactly show too much of it here. And speaking of an adventure game, our next title is A Space for the Unbound. This is another adventure-style game, this one taking place in Indonesia. And the interesting hook of it is we play as these teens who are trying to live their lives, and there are some surreal and dreamlike aspects going on, and whether or not what we see is real, or it could be part of a dream. Now, the pixel art of the game looks really amazing, and the game is kind of described as like slice of life in Indonesia in the 90s. So the puzzle solving revolves around going around collecting objects, and the kind of unique aspect of it is that you're able to enter somebody's mind and kind of interact with their subconscious. And you'll have to bring items from both in the world and then outside of it to try and figure out what's going on. All the while, there are some very deep themes and some serious stuff going on behind the scenes. And again, the demo doesn't give us too much to go on, but there's certainly some hints that there is more going on here beyond just the dream-like aesthetic of these areas. Now again, with it being a demo, there's only about, I think, like 30-40 minutes of play, at least in what we tried. But definitely some very good potential for this game, and I'm kind of going to be interested to see where it goes in the finished version. But with that, we're going to do our Patreon supporter and sponsor shout out now, and when we come back, we're going to take a look at a few more games for this showcase video. And now for a quick shout out to our current Game Wisdom supporters and sponsors. Going forward, all Patreon supporters will get early access to our videos. And if you'd like to continue this discussion on game design, be sure to check out our Discord channel, linked down below. If you're looking for more wisdom about game design, be sure to check out my latest offering of books, 20 Essential Games to Study, aimed for first-time developers and students looking for some inspiration for their upcoming games, and Game Design Deep Dive Platformers if you're interested in anything regarding 2D and 3D platforming design. They're both available in print, digital, and wherever books are being sold. For our next game, we turn to Retrograde Arena. This is a multiplayer shooter with the general idea is that you're playing by bouncing rules. So your various weapons will all push the enemies or push your opponents based on their actual power. And hit the wall or hit any of the orange cubes and you are knocked out. Winner is the last one up. And the game, of course, is full of the good old 80s synth on top of that. And the game can be played with up to 4 players competitively. I don't know at this moment if it is local or online or a combination of the two. But this is an interesting game to play. I'm also completely terrible at it while I was playing it to get footage of it, as your shots, as you can see, also send you backwards as well. So the physics of the game kind of dictate who wins and loses. And despite me being absolutely terrible at this game, I could see this as being a fun co-op night, something for everyone to get together and just try synth killing everyone on stage. But with that, we're going to move on to one final game for this video. And this is one I think a lot of people are going to be excited about. This is Solasta, Crown of the Magister. That was not easy for me to say. But this is a kind of classical CRPG or pen and paper style influenced design. And the game definitely has it in terms of production values and just in terms of the overall aesthetic and theme. But the idea, of course, is that we build a party of 4 adventurers set within a rule set, which, again, I am not a pen and paper person, so I don't know what this means, but it says it's SRD 5.1. I'm sure a few of you will be more than happy to let me know what all that means in the comments below. But you're going to build a party of 4 adventurers. In this demo, we had to choose 4 pre-made characters, and then you are going to be going dungeon crawling in this area. Now, from what I played, I believe the dungeon itself is handmade. And one of the interesting aspects of this game from a production standpoint is that the world is basically consistent. Like, there is no leaving the world to go into battle. So characters will move around the map. You're going to see them kind of climb down, reach various aspects. And when you see an enemy on the field, you're able to move around and prepare for any kind of sneak attacks or to avoid them in general. And of course, combat itself is classically turn-based design. So characters move based on initiative. There is elements of zone of control. Again, I am not a pen and paper person, so I don't know how much this game adheres to those rule sets that I mentioned a minute ago. But each character comes with varying abilities. You can see they have action points in the bottom left hand corner of the screen. And combat, of course, is played tactically, as you'll need to make use of positioning, directions, and various skills in order to come out on top. Now, one of the more interesting aspects that occurred a little bit later in the demo was more of the real-time, more of the environmental interaction with the enemies and the players, or the characters. So at one point, you have to sneak around in the demo to kind of get around an area, and you're able to choose one character. And the game said that you're able to also like knock objects off, try and hit enemies, hide behind them, cause distractions, and that's definitely above the standard of fare for these kinds of games in terms of interacting with the environment or more control outside of combat. Now with that said though, one, I'm terrible at stealth and you're going to see me probably get caught in the next 30 seconds. But I don't think this is a game that's really for me. Like I said, I'm not a pen and paper person. I'm not a huge CRPG fan. So to me, combat does feel a little bit on the slower side of things. But I know there are plenty of fans of pen and paper games on this channel, and probably a few of them watching this video right now. And if you do have that interest, I would definitely say to keep an eye on Solasta. According to the release date, it will come when it's ready, so we don't know what exactly that is. But there's definitely a lot to like if you are a fan of these kinds of designs. And with that, we are going to wrap up this indie dev showcase for this video. I'd like to thank everybody who submitted games, or in this case for showing their games off in the Steam Spring Festival. But with that, be sure to check out our Discord and Patreon link down below. As always, if you'd like to submit a game for a future spotlight, please don't hesitate to get in touch and come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games. Until next time, take care. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoy things, be sure to do all the liking and subscribing that the kids are doing these days. Check out our Discord channel link down below where we hang out and chat game design, and come back later tonight for our regular streamings. But that's it, and tune in for more great content here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games.